It's one thing to have a small boxy bedroom that you want to make feel more spacious. But what if you have a whole tiny house built long and boxy? Today we look at the top 5 design principles that we used when we designed inside this semi-trailer. Hi there, and welcome to Big Tiny Adventure. So one of the important considerations for us when choosing to build inside of a semi-trailer was to create a spacious feeling, airy, welcoming, light environment that was very livable. We started out with this dark tunnel, if you can believe it. So Heidi and I debated about what was the best way to achieve this goal using something that looked like we were living inside of a shoebox. So with a lot of research, some trial and error, and probably a bit of luck, we ended up with a home that we really feel fulfills the brief for us. It gives us the kind of space that we can spend most of the hours in our day in without feeling cramped, despite having a tiny footprint. So let's have a look at the top 5 design principles that helped us achieve this result. So when I say zones, I mean breaking up the space into distinct areas. Heidi and I initially thought that a large open space would retain the feeling of spaciousness, but in the end we chose to break it up, focusing on how you can often not entirely see from one end to the other, or there are layers of walls and changes to the space that trick your mind into thinking that there might be a little more around one of the corners that you can't currently see. Compartmentalizing the space fools your conventional house brain into thinking that it is a space that is larger than only 2.4 meters wide, partly because you can't see it all at once. A huge consideration for us was to get a lot of light into our home. Not only is this really important for mental well-being, but it really changes your perception of the space as well. Suddenly, the physical sense and actual knowledge of just how narrow it really is becomes vastly expanded when windows provide your eyes with the ability to see beyond the wall boundary almost everywhere you look. But it's the light that gives spaces volume and warmth. An ever-changing infusion that reveals more about the design depending on the time of the day or the season. By using numerous windows, and large ones where we could, plus the all-important light from above, we immediately changed the sense of the space. Even the moment that we cut the holes in the walls, the transformation was astounding. Windows are only part of the story, though. We chose lighting that would provide a sense of coziness and comfort, and that would change the space in its own way. Having the ability to dim and change the color temperature helps sculpt the space. Plus, added outdoor lights expand the space outward so we can see the trees outside the windows. The fellow that got us onto semi-trailer tiny houses also raised his kitchen like we have, and we can immediately see the benefits of doing this, even besides the obvious advantages for storage. By going beyond just dividing the space into zones, as we mentioned earlier, the addition of a change of level gives the sense that the space is more complex and compartmentalized than expected. It feels like you step down into the bedroom, and that sunken space makes it feel distinct, cozy, and separate. From a distance, you can see it is bright and inviting, but you can't see all of it, which adds to that curiosity of what's around the corners or down the steps. Now, we don't have space to go upwards, but you could argue that a traditional tiny house with its higher footprint and loft space could be perceived as having greater spaciousness. But you could also say that perhaps the narrowness would be even exaggerated further by that height. So, swings and roundabouts. So color absolutely played a part in our decision-making process, and certainly anyone with another tiny house or a small apartment or house could attest to the fact that a white wall will give a sense of airiness and spaciousness to your space. So white features prominently in our space. specifically antique white, which is a warmer, softer white. But we also break up the zones with color as well. Additionally, we have used tongue-and-groove boards across the lounge room space, which helps expand the perception of width, and cutouts where you can see colors through an opening, which further distinguishes areas from one another. Furnishing considerations and other details can help a space feel less filled in and uncluttered by revealing more of the negative space around it. This stool, for example, has open legs, and the breakfast bar beside it has no side or legs blocking visibility. We chose a smaller sofa with a lean appearance and lowish back to minimize its dominance in the space. Having built-in elements like these alcoves plus open shelves mean we don't need additional furniture. Rugs can help define spaces as well without adding furniture, plus furnishings like round tables or with rounded edges help reduce clutter and open up the room. We also built this large pantry and our clothes cupboards into a wall space that makes it feel hidden. Plants aren't furniture as such, but their organic shapes break up a space without creating barriers. We don't use mirrors or transparent furniture like glass tables or anything like that in our place just because of the style of it, but that is another way to sort of change the perception of the space. So that's just a few design considerations in the build of our semi-trailer tiny house. At 32 square meters or 320 square feet, we're a little bit larger than your traditional tiny house on wheels. But even so, we've shown that we can expand the width, perceived width and spaciousness, and make this a very livable space. Well, that's this episode. Thanks for joining us at Big Tiny Adventure. Please like and subscribe to help keep supporting this channel, and we'll see you next time.